Welcome to another episode of Trash Talk. Special guest in. We're in Melbourne. One day after the Melbourne Cup, we've got Michael Zerafa here in Ivanhoe, Melbourne. Lovely here. I really like it.
It's beautiful, yeah. I haven't actually been here before, but it's actually nice driving here. All the houses are...
Where's your gym located?
So we're in the north, so Craigieburn. I've only been open for the last 6 months. But yeah, it's doing well. It's not as classy as Ivanhoe, but it's doing well.
Thank you for coming in, mate. I've always been a big fan. See you at the press conference. You're probably the most entertaining boxer No Limit has, obviously outside of the Tszyu brothers who they have and a couple of others, you know, special good-looking heavyweights and stuff like that. But I've been a big fan. I've been looking for a long time. I want to start by asking, how's the body feeling? How you holding up? You just fought Tim Brown. You're training. What's the go?
Yeah, look, I'm always training. It's a lifestyle for me. So for me, I don't like to take days off. I just truly believe staying in the gym, keep ready. You know, obviously the Tommy Brown fight didn't go to plan. We got the win. You know, it wasn't in style, unfortunately, but a win's a win, and we move forward onto bigger and better things. And you know, for me, it's Tim. You know, that's the fight we want. You know, I fought everybody in Melbourne and Australia in the fighting industry. So for me, like I said, the only one that's left is Tim, and it's the biggest fight.
Tommy Brown fight. It was done within a round. I was there live. I said this will be over quickly. It was on my story.
Yeah, I did say that. Yeah,
I predicted it correctly. Was that the easiest fight of your life?
Look, it was. You know, and I prepared hard for that fight because obviously the fight before that I was in Vegas and I was off, you know, mentally and physically and emotionally. I just, you know, wasn't that my night, and that's the sport. And you know, in the biggest fight of my career, you know, I worked 20 years plus for that event, and all fell through in less than 5 minutes. You know, I got beaten, and it was sad. So I went back in the gym and I worked super hard, and then to go out there and the way it ended was pretty crappy, man. But again, a win's a win, and we move forward.
Well, your pro boxing record, you're 32-5. You fought the likes and beat Mundine, you know, Horn, Hardman, knocked out Hardman within 2 rounds. What's been the highlight of your boxing career so far?
For me, you know, the Jeff Horn fight was a big one because not only the fight, I knew I could beat Jeff Horn. You know, I said it prior, you know, even after the fight when they gave me the microphone, I said, "Why is all surprised?" And I called this 12 weeks ago. You know, I was willing to fight free for that fight because I said, you know, I know I'm going to win. Styles make fights, and you know, for me, just knowing that the whole world was literally against me, they're like, you know, Zerafa, he just beat Pacquiao, you got no chance, you know. So for me, that was you know, one to remember. It always flash back, and even when I see like the promo videos and stuff like that, it always gives me chills. But you know, every fight is one step forward. You know, I still feel like I haven't had my career defining moment yet. You know, even though I've had great wins and beaten, you know, the best fighters in Australia and fought, you know, 11 world champions, I still feel like the best is yet to come. I'm 32 and people think it's, yeah, you know, like I was young and dumb, you know, now I'm old and smart, but the body mentally, you know, I've got that man strength now, and I used to overtrain and kill my body. Now it's, yeah, doing everything smart.
Well, I was at the press conference of your last fight and you were the highlight of it. You were chirping at Tommy Brown, Nikita Tszyu was going at you. You were the main form of entertainment on the press conference. Do you take pride in that? Do you go into these press conferences and say, I want to be the personality here? And do you think that's something Australian boxing is lacking? Do Oz boxing need a bit more personalities like yourself?
Yeah, look, I truly believe that you need people like me. It's boring otherwise, you know, like no disrespect to, you know, Nikita or Mazudia, but, you know, that press conference, they were talking about having hamburgers with each other, you know, and I like they're good up-and-comers and they're great fighters, but, I mean, yeah, like I just feel like you need that Anthony Mundine, that Conor McGregor, that Michael Zerafa, you know, even Hardman was trying to do it at one point, and it brings attention to the sport. It brings attraction to the fight nights. And then, like I said, you either love me or you hate me. But like I said, I haven't done anything bad to anybody. It's just you got to pick one person, and sometimes you're against me, sometimes you're with me. So for me, it doesn't really matter, but I feel like you need more personalities like myself.
Well, let's talk about something that you've brought a lot of attention to. Tim Tszyu. He recently lost his last fight. You immediately took to social media and said, I'm next in line. How realistic is this fight between you and Tim Tszyu going to happen?
This is huge. You know, off camera, you know, obviously me and his promoters are talking. You know, there was a 3-fight plan in place, being Tommy Brown, Nikita, Tim. And that was if Tim won, you know, and obviously, you know, I feel for him a little bit because I've been on that end, and it is a shitty feeling, you know, being...
What was your immediate reaction to his loss?
I'll be honest, I was in shock because I didn't watch it. I mean, I had others, my phone blew up, I had everyone contacting me. Yeah, look, because I had him to win, you know, in all the media stuff prior. I said, look, you know, the Murtazalia is tough, but I think Tim obviously worked great.
And in his past opponents, he hadn't fought really.
Yeah, and I seen his last one when he fought, and, you know, that Jack Colkay, he's tough, but, you know, they'll go toe-to-toe with each other, and I just thought, you know, Tszyu Timmy is going to be, levels above. But again, Tim's got this bad habit of always overlooking everybody. And I've said it since day one, and people are starting to realize, he could be fighting you, but he's already talking about fighting Canelo and Charlos and Crawfords and Spence. And, he said that Murtazaliev was, he was a hand-picked opponent and hasn't fought anyone, and he was a bum and this and that. And, this is where fighters go wrong. Even like when I was fighting Tommy Brown, they were talking about Nikita and they were talking about Tim, but even if you notice the lead-up, I was only focusing on Tommy Brown, because I know where he's been and what he's done and who he's fought, and he was a tough guy, but I knew I was levels above that. But, I never take my eyes off, who I'm fighting, and Tim's got a bad habit of doing that. But look, career-wise, I was happy because obviously it sets me up and him up to fight for that mega fight. But as a fighter, to watch another Aussie go through that, it was tough, and I did feel for him. But again, that's the sport. I've been there, and he said when I got knocked out, it was a joy watching me get knocked out. But again, I'm not that salty. It wasn't a joy watching him. But
take the humble route.
Yeah, look, I felt bad for him because it is a shit feeling. It's a crap feeling, and you feel lost. You feel like you start questioning yourself, like, what do I do now? Am I good enough? You start, it's a big mental game, and I do feel for him, and hopefully he's all good,
Well, a lot of people took to Twitter. Sean Porter was one of them.
Yeah.
Crawford as well said he was overlooking his opponent. Yeah, George Kambosos also said this is a fault of the Aussie media who put all the spotlight on him and they don't focus on other boxers like Jai Opetaia, Kambosos, Maloney boys. Do you feel like that's a thing in Australia, that they're too focused on Tim Tszyu and they're not really worried about any of the other up-and-coming talent?
100%. And you named a bunch of fighters that, get hardly anything. You got Liam Paro, who I've recently been working close with, and myself. I get more media than these guys because, obviously I'm a character and the villain and whatnot. But, Aussie boxing should be just called Nikita and Tim Tszyu because it's just solely focused on them. If they sneeze, it's on Channel 9 News. Like, it is sad. I don't do this for media, so I don't really care. I do that because I love the sport. I want to fight. I want to win a world title. But again, you need people like me in the mix because it's boring. Rivalries. I had one with Jeff Horn. I had one with Hardman. I've got them with the Tszyu boys now. It brings fire. Even like in the UFC, there's always that rivalry, and it's more exciting. You need it.
Apart from looking ahead at opponents, why do you think Tim lost his fight against Murtazaliev?
I purely believe it come down to just overlooking, man. He just thought it was an easy win. He came out. I think he's got a little bit of PTSD from his, the
cut.
Yeah, Fundura fight. He was already checking his head and seeing if there was the gashes reopened and whatnot. And this is only going to make it worse because 2 straight losses. Doesn't happen very often. And the way he's been positioned, management wise, he's going to have to go back into another hard fight. Being me and even someone bigger. But I feel like he's mentally scarred from these 2 fights.
Well, on your last card, Nikita Tszyu was saying you're delusional if you think you want to fight Tim. You're not up to his standard. What do you want to say to Nikita Tszyu? What do you want to say to Nikita Tszyu now that you're the rumored next opponent?
Oh, Nikita, just keep doing your thing, man. Like I said, I always say he's a strange kid. I said it to his face. I'll say it again. But take nothing away from his ability. He's doing good things. You can't knock someone for winning. But yeah, there's just something strange about him. I don't know if that's his approach. Like I go down the villain approach. He's going down the just a few screws loose approach. I don't know what it is, but like I said, Nikita, just keep doing your thing, man. I'm levels above him and doing my thing. And if you're a Tszyu fan, you're going to say, "Oh, Nikita knocks me out." But his team also said they didn't want to fight me because I'm levels above Nikita. And it's a big step up for him too. So, like I said, I respect their team, but the fight with me and Tim is well and truly overdue.
Now, you said it is in discussions behind the scenes right now. Ideally, when does this fight take place between you and Tim?
I've been inactive, for a while because I was knocking everybody out or, unfortunately I got knocked out. So my fights have all been 2-3 rounds, the Hardman 2 rounds, all the guys that keep busy fights, the Mundine fight,
I'm feeling pretty fresh right now.
I'm feeling fresh. And like I said, in the gym, I'm grinding away. Like even just this morning before I came here, we already smashed out 4 hours of training, plus a run. And I don't ever stop. For me, it's a lifestyle. I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to improve on areas that I need to. But, I want to, ideally February, if I could fight in December, I could fight tonight. I'm only a couple of kilos off, but, February, And because I like I said, again, I understand Tim needs that time with his loved ones, his family, and just to mentally, prepared. I don't want any excuses, and this is the thing, come me and Tim, everyone's going to expect me to go off, and all the talking's done now. I'm going to go out there and say, man, all the pressure's on him, because I'm expected to lose. I'm the underdog. I lose, I told you, Zerafa lost, So he told me that he was going to knock me out. I'm not at his level. I'm only a $50,000 fighter. This is his opportunity. This is his chance. If he thinks all that, if I'm such an easy beat, this is his chance. February, March, he's got the opportunity.
Yeah, no. Now, this is just a suggestion. Take it if you want to. I think it would sell. A Tszyu brothers versus the Zerafa brothers. I mean, your brother likes to get his hands dirty. Could we see that potentially?
I mean, my brother just gets my back. He's not a boxer, but he's actually a crafty little fighter, though. I'll give him credit where credit's due, but I didn't condone what he did fight night. But again, he did what any brother would do. Sadly, it was just on the biggest platform in Australia and live on Fox Sports. But again, I'll take nothing from him. I love him to death. And,
my brother would do the same thing.
Yeah, like he just did. And people don't understand the story of that fight. He didn't actually see the fight get waved off. So all he saw me was standing up for round 2 and Tommy Brown's trainer coming up to me and, having a few words. And he was like, well, why isn't nobody doing anything? So then when he's jumped in and then it just, one thing led to another. Yeah, a bit of a misunderstanding. And he was straight away apologetic. He was like, crap, I feel like shit. I should have never done it. But, it is what it is and life goes on.
Now, we have said that some other Aussie boxers are being overlooked, especially after the last Tim fight. A lot of people are talking about Jai Opetaia.
Yep.
He's killing it in the cruiserweight division. He's knocking out blokes left, right, and centre in Saudi Arabia. What are your thoughts on Jai? And is he one of the better boxers in Australia?
I think he's probably the best talent, from Australia. He's a beast. The way he moves, someone so big. I mean, I've seen him in the flesh, and he's a big unit, and someone that can just move so fluently and just relaxed. He is a scary dude, man. But I think overseas have claimed him now, and he's more their boy than our boy. But if you're going to say Australian talent, I'd definitely say him. Yeah,
he's a fixture on the Riyadh season card.
Yeah.
Now they just signed Inouye as well in a $15 million deal. How exciting is Saudi Arabia entering the boxing scene? And do you have aspirations of taking a fight in the Riyadh season card?
Well, it's huge. Well, I've had a few offers. I literally was speaking to Eddie Hearn last night through text, and there's talks of me getting over there, and depending, like I said, if No Limit, we've got that verbal agreement, obviously, and the plan in place. But if anything else, falls through or something better, obviously I'll incorporate No Limit in that too. But they're definitely keen to get me over there, and I'm still highly world ranked. I'm ranked across the sanctioning bodies highly. So for me, I've been there. I was fighting on matchroom cards when I was 24 years old, against Cal Brook and all these other guys. So to get over there, I feel like that's where it's at. I feel like I've cleaned out my backyard. There's nothing really left for me in Australia. There's only that big fight, which the world's talking about in Zerafa v Tszyu. And I think that will open up a lot of doors, if I beat him or he beats me, which I very much doubt. But, you can have a bad night. I feel like that opens up, bigger things.
Now, like I said, you did have your opportunity in Vegas. Tim's had multiple opportunities in the United States now. What's your path back to the US, back to a WBC title opportunity, where ultimately you do want to go back to the US? What's your path back there?
Well, now I'm working closely with Ananito Donaire and his wife, and I've got a great relationship with all the sanction bodies. So basically, just getting positioned, making calls and managements, and trying to get fights that are going to elevate me up the rankings. I think I'm sitting number 5 or 6 in the WBA, and to try to get moving back up there again to get another crack at a world title, or I'm going to be put in the WBO and IBF, moving up the rankings there. So any fight that basically opens up and there's a vacant title on the line, or fighting these guys for the belt, I'm more than happy to do that. Like I said, I've had 37 fights now and fought the best and beaten some of the best and fallen short to some of the best. But that's the next step. And I feel like, that Tim Tszyu, we don't really need each other, but that will open up a lot of doors because we've both been such at a high level for so long, and, been on that world stage and just fallen short. So, for me, it's, again, fighting those guys that have got the belts.
Well, a lot of people are saying that Tim's next fight has to be in Australia. Probably going to have a tough time fighting a fight overseas. Is it difficult to find fights in the US, especially for up-and-coming Aussie boxers, to kind of go over there if you don't have those relationships with the sanctioning bodies?
It's nearly impossible. You could be the best fighter in the world, but if you don't have those contacts, it's like anything, I guess. But it's so hard. And I've been lucky, through a lot of failure and a lot of setbacks, I've then moved on finding the right people and making those relationships. But, it's so hard because there's only 4 guys, there's 4 sanctioning bodies and you got to try to make amends, but they're also against each other. As much as they work with each other, they're also against each other because, at one point I was mandatory for 2 world titles, IBF and WBA, but you can't go for both. So as soon as I chose one, they kicked me out of the other, and that's how it works. And
they give you really unrealistic deadlines to fight for it.
Correct, yeah, and that's what happened to me. I was out with Lara for, I think it was 16 months on the sidelines just because I was the mandatory world number 1, trying to get the date and, because he was the champion, pretty much whatever he said went. So it ended up being 16 months, but so hard for these up-and-comers. I mean, I'm lucky that I've obviously got that name and that is, been a little bit established to reach out and try to get these. But like I said, I've been back and forth with Eddie Hearn and No Limit and the Tim Tszyu fight, and there's big things.
Now, I want your opinion. We named a few boxers that are in the Australian scene. Michael Zerafa's opinion, especially with what's happened over the last few months in boxing. Who are your top 3 Australian boxers right now? Not including yourself, obviously.
As in active?
Active boxers right now.
Liam Paro is going to be one. Jai Opetaia. I'm trying to think now who's another third one. Throw some names at me.
Well, I mean, Nikita's had almost 8 fights. We can't say he's a top contender. Anyone?
Sam Goodman. You know why I like him? Because he's come from kind of nowhere. He's done the hard yards and then bang, he's worked his way up. And they've built him well. I don't know how he's going to go. I wish him all the best for that fight. That's a scary fight. Anyway, he's a beast. But I mean, credit for him going to his backyard and trying to. We've done it and I've done it and fell short sadly. But hopefully he can bring it home.
What sets the Liam Paros and the Jai Opetaias from other boxers on the Australian scene?
Just that work rate, man. Like I went over there, I flew to Brisbane and I was doing rounds with just their team, just the professionalism. Obviously I relate with that because obviously I'm the same, but just that work rate, when you're tired to still push. For me it was different because obviously Melbourne, it's terrible weather 24/7, but when I was over there, we were sparring in the gym and I reckon it was about 50 degrees. I'm not even joking. And I struggled because it was so hot, but these guys just like, yeah, man, like it's hot, but we just got to keep going. And, you just got to, just that mental strength of just pushing, and I feel like that's what separates, the good from the great. Those ones that, like myself, that just push. Even when I don't even have a fight booked in, I'm still doing 10K runs. I'm still training 3-4 hours a day. That's the difference. Where some other guys would just be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'm going on a holiday, or
consistency.
Yeah, that's the key. A lot of fighters, they fight, then they go off and on a bender or put on 10 kilos. Where for me, I'm always waiting for that call for my phone to ring and you're ready to fight, I'll fight.
Now, I want to ask you about the UFC. I know you're a fan of the sport, fan of some of the personalities. Ilia Topuria, the featherweight champion, probably known as the best boxer in the UFC right now. What do you make of his boxing style? And do you think that translates well if you were to step in a boxing ring?
Look, he's a beast. Obviously, I didn't know too much about him. I'm a big fan of Volk. I'm friends with Volk too. So to see that was a hard fight to watch for me because just to see how he, obviously he beat him. But yeah, man, he's so explosive. I feel like that's a massive thing to come into the boxing world if you can be explosive. And, from A to B, he just gets there, in a dash. And not many UFC fighters can do that, And to see that, like I said, and even Holloway, he's a tough as, to
been knocked down.
Correct, and, to see him get, bashed the way he did was just, it was phenomenal, really, on Ilia's behalf. But yeah, man, he's a beast. I'm a fan of him. Yeah.
Also a personality like himself. I think he goes out there, says what he wants to do, and goes out and does it. Really shocks the world, kind of. Do you play that character intentionally, or is that are you different? What's the difference between Michael Zerafa off camera and Michael Zerafa on camera?
Off camera, like people that do know me, they're like, man, you're such a nice person. Like I'm a big give back person. I do everything and not expect anything back. Like I just love helping people. I never expect anything back. For me, I just feel like when I'm on camera, I'm very quick-witted, and I just feel like when people try to be somebody they're not, it's just easy to kind of like
call it out.
Yeah, and like when they come back, like I've done it with everybody. Hardman was one of them, and I just outminded him and outspoke him. But off camera, like I said, I literally go out of my way to help people. I love putting myself in a position where I can help somebody. I love it, man. Like,
do you think you win the verbal battle between you and Tim Tszyu?
100%. He's so vanilla. I don't know if he puts that on or whatnot, but I don't know. Doesn't sound very intelligent. But I mean, people listen to this probably think I don't sound that intelligent either. But like I said, I'm not really.
Yeah, there's rumours that the fight could potentially take place in Melbourne. Is that something that you would be very much interested in, or would you be happy to take the fight wherever?
Look, I truly believe I'm happy to fight it wherever. In saying that, though, if he's not willing to come to Melbourne, I'm not willing to go to Sydney. I feel like it has to be on neutral territory. So whether that be in Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, wherever it may be, I feel like it has to be in Melbourne because we got the biggest stadiums, and I think it's the biggest fight since Mundine Green. And people say, "Oh, Mundine Green," and mate, I feel like it is, because there hasn't been one since then.
Everyone's invested in it.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. When there is that bad blood and there is that, like, look, I don't hate Tim. I don't hate Nick. They've done nothing to me. So I'm not going to, it's just a competitiveness. He thinks he's the best. I think I'm the best. I believe that he thinks he's better than he is and vice versa, or whatever he thinks. But I don't hate them. We just see different opinions. That's all it is. But I feel like, if it has to be anywhere, either Melbourne or somewhere neutral.
Okay. Look, I want to get your thoughts on this. We're less than 2 weeks out of a fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. What's your prediction? How do you see this fight going?
Well, they asked me when I fought Lara, and I said that the fight was never going to happen. And then the fight ended up getting called off because he got injured. And I said, I told you. It's because I just put it down to, you got Mike Tyson, pretty much Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. If you think boxing, you think those two fighters, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and maybe Floyd Mayweather, the biggest names in the sport. I just can't see Jake Paul beating him. It ruins
the aura around Mike Tyson.
Yeah, but then you got Jake Paul, who brings such a revenue to the sport. I don't know. I just can't see it actually happening. I feel like, I know we're only 2 weeks out, but I feel like something's going to happen. And I don't feel like the fight's going to happen. I just feel like they can't damage each other's reputation, especially Mike Tyson.
Yeah, it's a big payday nonetheless. I don't know if Mike Tyson can turn down. I think he's getting upwards of 10 plus million. I could still see Mike Tyson knocking him out, but Jake Paul's got that knockout power. He's shown it before against other boxers. I don't know. If you had to pick one winner, who are you taking?
I'm going to say Mike Tyson, purely just because it's Mike Tyson. Yeah. But again, like you said, Jake Paul, he weirdly, and I've been over into the conventions and stuff and met him a few times and had dinner with him and whatnot, and he's a gentleman. He's actually not what you see. He does a lot for the women's boxing. He's a good dude, and he's actually great for the sport. But again, I can't see him beating Mike Tyson, but every fight he's getting better. And
what are your thoughts about the influence of boxing scene? Because it's very prominent in the UK, the US, influencers, Instagram, YouTubers, getting in the boxing ring. Do you think it tarnishes the sport, or it's bringing more ice to the sport?
Look, it brings more ice to the sport, but definitely tarnishes it. This sport is the hardest sport in the world. I've literally blood, sweat and tears for this sport. I've dedicated my whole life, not only me, other fighters around the world. But to see these guys, getting massive shows, massive paydays, 20 million plus, and they've never laced up a glove before or even had to train. It is disheartening, because I can't call up Essendon Football Club and say, hey, chuck me in the forward line this week. I'm done with boxing, it doesn't happen, Yeah, you know what I mean? Or chuck me on the rugby field or on tennis against Federer. It doesn't happen, But these guys are, my career's done. I want to go boxing, and it kind of takes the mickey out of the sport a little bit. And it is shit, but at the end of the day, it does bring ice to the sport. And it's until someone gets hurt, I believe.
Down the line, would you jump in with a...
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you would?
100%, yeah. You're paying $20 million if someone that's behind a computer or doing Instagram or something calls me out, sure.
I wouldn't call you out. But Michael, thank you for coming in so much. I'm looking forward to the fight. I think it's the next fight to make in Australia. I think we'll catch up during fight week.
100%.
Let's do something, whether it's a skit, another interview. I really appreciate your time.
You're a gentleman. Thank you, brother.